So for my video evidence of student outcomes, I really used videos from task 7 and task 6 and 7 for these because I felt like those were my two best videos of the three. For the major areas, the first one, providing and communicating clear learning goals. Um, in video 7, I started off by, I previewed on the board, I had the learning targets that we were going to be covering. Um, and each student is given a learning target sheet where they track their progress. Well, the learning targets that I was covering in that lesson, I also in the video demonstrated how it connected to what we had done previously and how it is flowing into the next one that I had on the board, which we were about to do in the next day or two. So I showed how those learning targets are a progression to get them to mastery. In the second one, in assessment, I used video 6 because this was a video where we were introducing a new unit. And whenever I introduce a new unit, students are given a brand new learning target sheet. The learning targets come from the essential standards that must be mastered in that unit that we have discussed as a math department that must be mastered for Algebra 1. From those essential standards, I create learning targets. This sheet shows them all of the learning targets for the whole unit. So they see up front everything that they're going to do in this unit and everything that is expected to be mastered. As we go through this unit, some of these learning targets are prior skills, things we had either done in the prior unit or, they could have even done them in prior grades. They rank themselves as we go through this learning targets. As we go through the unit, they rank their progression of learning on the learning targets paper. They have a rubric that they follow. They give themselves a rating of 1 to 4 on how well they feel they're mastering it. By the end of the unit, or even right before a quiz, we preview what will be on, which one of those learning targets will be on the quiz or the end of the unit test. They look at their rankings and they know what they need to study, what they need to improve with. The next section, direct instruction. I used video 6. Video 6 was brand new information for them. They were learning how to write in function notation, so direct instruction worked best during that time. What I had them do is I had them copy down the notes from my board that showed function notation, and it described what each part of function notation represented. Once they wrote that down, then I explained every part of that point, and we took that function notation and we put it into a problem that they had already been working. So they were familiar with the problem. Now they were revising that and writing it in a notation that was new to them. Practicing and deepening lessons. I used video 7. During this lesson, we used information that I had given them the day before. We had done an introductory lesson the day before, and now they were taking that information and they were solving a real world situation. Actually, I think it was 2 real world situations that day. They were taking their new skill knowledge and they were putting it into a real world situation, and this allowed them to not only practice more with the skill that they were doing, but it allowed them to deepen the comprehension of the skill they had learned the day before. Especially with using a real world scenario, it helped it make sense instead of me just giving them some numbers and developing. I was able to develop fluency, but in a meaningful way. The next section, knowledge application lessons, I used video 7. And this is where my philosophy for the last few years has really been not giving the students homework. They're ninth graders. They're learning how to be high school students. I know a lot of their family situations. I know a lot of them go home and they're the ones that are taking care of their siblings, or they have a basketball game that they have to go to. They have a volleyball game, they have practice. Um, I know when they go home, a lot of them don't even have a good place where they can be alone to do the homework. So I have just found over the last few years that if I incorporate time into my week and give a work time, I get truer results from them. If I give them some homework to do and they don't have the time to do it, they're either going to text their friends and get the answers, they're going to Google the answers. Um, but if I want authentic work from them, I need them to do it in the classroom where I'm here to help them or I'm here just to ask questions about their thinking. So during this section of the video, um, this is what they're doing. They're working on what I would have given them for homework, but they're doing it here, and I can get, like I said, truer, more authentic work from them. Strategies that appear in all types of lessons. I used video 7. And here we were using graphs, which they've been using for years, but we were giving new vocabulary. We were talking about maximums and minimums and y-intercepts and vertical intercepts or horizontal intercepts, x-intercepts. And instead of just saying like the starting point or the highest point, we started turning that into their new vocabulary, which they're going to need for the next, math classes coming up. They're going to need that for geometry. They're going to need that for algebra 2. So we took old knowledge that they had already had, the graphs, and we added the new vocabulary, the new features, key features of a graph, and we're able to revise some of their thinking, especially in the way they explain their answers. Engagement. I used video 6. Video 6 in this section that I showed. We were analyzing a graph from a situation we had looked at the day before, and they were given a couple minutes on their own, no talking, no comparing answers, to analyze the graph and write down what they saw. And then before we went whole group, I gave them a couple minutes to just share with your partner. Compare your answers. Why did you get what you get? What if you didn't have the same answers? Try to reason through who's correct, who's wrong, where was the error made? Did you misunderstand the question? After I do that, I found I get better responses from them when we go whole group, because they know they're not the only one that wrote that answer down. They've now compared their answer with their friend. So students are more involved if I give them a little time just to share with their partner, and are more, they're not sitting there like a bump on a log. When I give them time to talk with their partner, it kind of wakes them up and it gets them going a little bit. And then I get better responses, whole group. Rules and procedures. I'm a big proponent of, rules and class expectations. I set them from the beginning of the year and we follow them the entire year. We're almost through the first semester. My husband had to have surgery, so I was gone for 4 days. And while I was gone, the note that was left from this particular group of students is that they carried on like I was here. Well, I have a routine in my room that, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, I give you a ticket. And if I give you a ticket, you put your name on it and it goes into a cup. And the end of the week, we have a drawing for snacks, whatever, little things that ninth graders like. Well, this particular group had followed rules and procedures even while I wasn't here, so they got an extra drawing. Um, this group knows what's expected of them and, carries on when I'm not here. Uh, as far as relationships go, I used the same video, that same group of students. We do what's called our district wide, we do what's called good things. And, a couple times a week, we'll just, before we even start the lesson, we'll just say, okay, hey, it's time for some good things. And this gives these kids an opportunity to share with us something that is going on in their life that's really good, that, you know, normally they don't get to talk about because we're worried about math or English or social studies. Um, Good things could be anything from, like, one girl said she was going to her grandma's house. Sometimes our football team, our junior boys won district, and the day we did good things was the day after, the Monday after the football game, and that was all everybody talked about, which was great. It kept them pumped up, and they were good. But it gives us an opportunity that, I can hear what's going on in their lives. They can share it. Sometimes they surprise each other, that, one of them's going to an amusement park for the weekend, and then everybody starts talking about it. So Good Things is a good, um, just where they can be themselves and they can actually talk about something that's going on in their lives. Um, and it lets them know that I want to know what's going on in their lives. So they are, valued and appreciated. The last area is communicating high expectations. Um, this is where I'll walk around a lot of times. Well, I walk around whenever they're doing some kind of independent work or even group work. I have a lot of students who don't want to ask a question during direct instruction because they don't want everybody to hear their question. And when I come up to them, there were two boys in this particular section that I had looked at, and all they wanted was to make sure that they were using the vocabulary correctly and were they labeling it correctly. And those are two boys who never speak out loud. They never talk in front of the class, but they want to do the right thing. They want to goof off too, which I'm sure you saw a little bit in the video, but um, I was, by me going over there to them while we were working, they were able to quietly ask me, for some clarification. And I was able to, if I needed to give correction, I could give correction, or I can affirm what's going on and let them know, yes, they are on the right track, instead of them just putting something down and moving on. So we've developed a relationship where they know I will come over there and I will help them. So they're not as afraid as they were in the beginning of the school year to ask for some extra help. I feel like in my video evidences that of the student outcomes, uh, I I feel I have been able to show evidence in all 10 of these domains. I hope I understood the domains correctly and I was able to provide the evidence necessary. I have enjoyed doing this. It has really made me examine my teaching a little deeper than I ever had before, things I hadn't really thought about whether or not I was doing. It's made me relook at that. And I have really appreciated this opportunity to do that, to enhance my teaching. So thank you for your time and thank you for your feedback.